Kobe Bryant's Muse is a new documentary by Showtime, and it's all about Kobe Bryant. If you don't follow sports, Kobe Bryant is one of the best NBA players of all time, based on his prolific scoring capabilities and also his 5 NBA championships. Michael Jordan had 6, but Kobe recently surpassed him in total amount of points scored. Basketball is one of my favorite sports, so I was really looking forward to this movie. I think it's a really great mix of teamwork, strategy, and athleticism. But the reason Kobe Bryant is so loved is not just because of his genetic talents, but it's because of his work ethic and mindset. You hear these legends and stories of Kobe shooting thousands of shots per day, or that he's always the first person at practice and the last person to leave. Regardless if you like him or not, he has a mindset unlike any other person, and we get to dive into his head. Most of this film is just Kobe against a black screen, and he's just talking about key moments in his life. We learn about his early years as he followed his father around while he was playing in all these different European leagues. Because he's traveling so much with his family, he's always the new kid, and it's not easy for him to make friends each time. So basketball becomes his comfort, it becomes his one source of stability. We cut between these stories of his past and him trying to recover from his Achilles tendon injury. Kobe ruptured his Achilles tendon in 2013 after playing for 7 consecutive games for 40 plus minutes each game, which is absurd at his age. And the scary thing was he was playing some of his best basketball ever because he was going for that 6th championship. We see footage of him right after he injures his Achilles, and this adds suspense and tension to the film. Even though many of us might know how it turns out, watching the journey is still really interesting. Some of the most interesting scenes are just him doing these foot exercises, and it's really bizarre because here's one of the greatest athletes of all time and he needs to learn how to walk again. So clips of his recovery and unseen footage of his youth are really interesting, but what I really wanted to know was his philosophy, was his mindset. I wanted to know how and what he's thinking when he's training and doing all these amazing things. Kobe is infamous for pushing buttons and trying to get the best out of people in kind of ways that not everybody would agree with. I like to call it the Super Saiyan school of training, where you try to build anger and resentment and you use that energy to become great. There's this one really short clip that's really funny because he's just kind of messing with one of his teammates until he gets so mad that he pushes Kobe back. And Kobe, he kind of still looks like a hard ass, but he winks to somebody off camera. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's pushing his teammates for a reason. He wants to get something out of them that he's able to get out of himself. Another really interesting anecdote that Kobe himself talks about is how when he was a child and he would watch his dad play basketball, he would just stand under the court and help mop up the sweat. Being completely anal, his own words about not leaving a single drop of sweat on the ground. It's fascinating to see his obsessiveness as a child and how that eventually translated into his amazing work ethic as an adult. You see the focus, you already see the intensity, even when he's a kid. We also get to listen from his own words what it was like when he first got into the league. How he dealt with initially feeling like he wasn't given the opportunity to show what he was capable of. We get to see his doubts, a word that nobody associates with Kobe. It's hard to rate this film because this is a biography and it completely rests on just Kobe talking about key moments in his life over a period of about 90 minutes. For me, because I'm a huge basketball fan, this was awesome. This was like getting the keys to Disney World. I just want to stay there and learn everything about it and just, really get inside what's going on. You get to see these smaller moments in Kobe's life that had a big impact on him. We even get to see the first time he meets his wife, and it's on camera of him meeting his wife and him shaking her hand. And they are young at this point. I think he was 18, she is 17. This film definitely gets a little heavy when he talks about his family. We briefly touch on Kobe's legal issues off the court. Obviously, he doesn't dive into details, but when he talks about his wife, when he talks about his family, he does get very emotional. He talks about hurting his wife and kids, and he also touches upon a tragedy that happens within the family that he blames himself for. With all of the bravado he displays on court, he actually admits his failures as a father and a husband. We see a lot of self-awareness when he talks about realizing what was most important, especially when he almost lost everything. Kobe, at the end of the day, is a person who's made mistakes, and in this film, he really bears part of his soul. Throughout this whole film, he's incredibly introspective and self-aware. He's aware of the things he is and is not. He's aware of the sacrifices he and his family has had to make to get him where he is. He even talks about what it would be like if he didn't pursue basketball, of all the normal things that he has missed out on because he's chosen this path. I really believe every single person has a story to tell. Even if you're a couch potato who literally just sits on a couch and eats potato chips all day, you have something to offer. You have your own story and perception and ideas. This story, though, just happens to be about one of the best basketball players of all time. If you've seen Senna, a documentary about a race car driver, or Pumping Iron, a documentary about Arnold Schwarzenegger and other bodybuilders, this film isn't like them. I bring those two films up because those are really good, fun, entertaining documentaries. And they feel cinematic because the directors of those films constructed a narrative based on facts, but they still made a narrative with a plot, with a climax, with a resolution. There doesn't seem to be a clear narrative here. It's just Kobe talking for the most part. For me, as a basketball fan, as a Kobe Bryant fan, that was enough. I don't think all films, especially documentaries, should feel the need to have to construct a classical story arc. Even if you're not a fan though, this is a fascinating look inside the mind of a person who has achieved so much based on incredible work ethic, and I think it's worth taking a look at. I give this film a B+. Do you agree with the Super Saiyan method of training, that you have to push somebody, that you have to make them angry to get the full potential? Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you want to see more reviews on these documentaries and lesser known films. Peace.